Hi, my name is Billy Flowers, and welcome to my channel where I talk about velocity banking and how we can use this strategy to massively pay off debt. And before we get started, I just want to welcome everybody again to year 2025. And let's make this a year where we either start to pay off debt or pay off some debt. I know I took a little break. I know I haven't been posting too many videos lately, but I did have a vacation at the end of the year, so I just needed to take a little time off. You know how it goes. I need to take a little time off, recharge, because I've been going hard, especially at the the last half of 2024. I was going hard for the last 6 months, and things happened, and yeah, it was a busy. The last half of 2024 was pretty busy, so I was by December, those last 2 weeks when I had it off, I just needed to, take some time for myself and get a little rest. But now that 2025 has come, it's time for me to get back on the grind and start pumping out these videos so I can teach you guys how to get out this debt. So let's get started on today's video. This is going to be a two-parter, by the way. So this is going to be the first part. So let's get started. So we're gonna start off with our four key numbers. Our four key numbers, of course, and we have our income of $4,000. We have our expenses at $3,500. We have our debt at $20,000, and our cash flow is at $500. We do have a debt to a line of credit for $8,000. It has a 15% interest rate, and we're going to have about a $200 monthly payment. Now, as you see here, we have 3 credit cards. Our first one is for $4,000 and it has a $160 monthly payment. Credit card number 2, $6,000, $240 monthly payment. And number 3 for $10,000 with a $400 monthly payment. And all the cards have a 25% interest rate. Now down here, I've broken down the interest for the line of credit if you only paid the minimum monthly payment for the first year. So if you did that, it will cost you $1,200 of interest for that first year. You get charged $100 per month and 329 cents, $3.29 per day. Now, since this is year 2025, I'm gonna change things up a little bit. When we're using these lines of credit, unless you really have good cash flow, so I say either 1,000 or more, and your cash flow and your line of credit, say for instance, is $8,000, I don't mind using the entire line of credit to tackle a debt. But if your cash flow is under $1,000, and in this instance it's $500, I recommend using only about 70% of your line of credit. So then you'll have a little bit of room left over just in case, things might pop up or something. Just to keep, a peace of mind, ease of mind, just in case something happens, because you don't really have that much cash flow that's going to be pushing down the balance every month. So if you're under $1,000, I really suggest that you stick with 70%. Even if you're over $1,000, if you feel more comfortable using 70%, you can go ahead and do that as well. There's no rules to this game, but you always want to leave yourself a little bit of leeway instead of using the whole thing all the time. But if you have really good cash flow, so if you're over 1,000, if you got like 2,000, 2,500, or 3,000, then yeah, using the whole thing is not a problem, because you're going to be driving that balance down a lot in the first month. But in this case, we're going to be using 70%. So 70% of $8,000 is $5,600. So that's what we're going to be using. And like I mentioned, the line of credit will generate, at 8K will be $200 a month. But obviously, if we're not using 8K and we're using 5,600, our monthly payment is going to be lower than this $200. But as you already know, if we're dumping all of our income into the line, this monthly payment, it's gone. We don't have to worry about the monthly payment, because if we're putting in $4,000, obviously whatever our monthly payment is, so if we're doing $8,000, $200, I mean, what is that? That's that's nothing compared to $4,000. So your payment is going to be satisfied. So you don't have to worry about the monthly payment on the line of credit. So since we have $5,600 to use, what are we going to do? Well, we have credit card number one right here for $4,000. So we have $5,600 to work with, right? So what are we going to do with that card? We're going to wipe this card out. It's gonna go bye-bye. It's gone. So when we do that, what's gonna happen? Well, our expenses are, I wrote this over here, our expenses are $3,500. If we no longer have this credit card as a bill, I like to say as a bill, this is no longer a bill, $160. We're gonna minus that from $3,500, and we're gonna get $3,340. That's going to be our new expense now that we don't have this credit card payment. But since we're using $5,600, we're going to have $1,600 left. So what am I going to do with that $1,600? I'm going to throw it on credit card number two. So credit card number two is $6,000 with a $240 monthly payment. So if we take 6,000, subtract 1,600 from it, we're going to get a balance of $4,400, and then that's going to lower the monthly payment down to $176. So now, if we take the original monthly payment and subtract it from the new monthly payment, we're going to have another $64 to work with. So that's going to drop the expenses down another $64. So now our expenses are going to be $3,276. And this is our expenses. So what else happened? Since we got rid of this payment right here, and then we got rid of a partial of this payment, what about this more important? What's going to happen? We're going to get that cash flow, right? So I'm going to come over here. So we got rid of this first credit card payment. And like I say, once you pay that off, we're going to gain $160. So that's going to put us at $660 now, right? And then, since we put some money on this second credit card, we're going to gain another $64 on top of that. So we're going to gain another $64. So then we're going to do the math on that. So we got 4 there. 6 and 6 is 12. Carry the 1. $724 is our new cash flow now. So we took our line of credit. We started off with $500, and we paid off the first credit card. Paid a little bit off, put a little dent in the second one. And now our cash flow is up to $724. That's what we got to work with now. So now we have a balance of $5,600 on our line of credit. So now we're going to pay it down. So we're going to move to month one. Month one, our line, $5,600. Now we're going to put all of our income into the line, driving that balance down to $1,600. And then our expenses of $3,276 is going to come out of the line. And it's going to raise the balance up to $4,876. And then I took the interest off of the high balance of $5,600, and that's going to be $70. That's going to raise the balance up to $4,946 at the end of month one. Now remember, this expense number right here, this new expense number right here, it includes the new monthly payment for credit card number 2. We're still paying the monthly payment on credit card number 2. So this includes the $176, and it includes, and this $3,200 includes everything else that you're paying for the month. So your rent or mortgage, your, if you got a car, if you got a car insurance, your gas, your electric, your food, anytime you go out, everything else that you spend every month, that's this expense number, including your credit card payment for credit card number 2. Oh, and credit card number 3. We can't forget about that one either. We still gotta do that one. So both of these credit card payments and the rest of your expenses is this expense number right there. Some people think that, oh, that for some reason people think that you're gonna stop paying expenses with this number. No, you're still paying everything. So we're going to move on to month number 2. We're going to repeat the same process. We're going to have our income going in, our expenses coming out. It's going to raise the balance up to $4,222. Now our interest is $61.83, again off of the beginning balance of the month, raising the balance up to $4,283.83 at the end of month 2. Month 3, we have our income going in of $4,000, bringing that balance all the way down to $283.83. Then we're going to have our expenses come back out, raising that balance up to $3,559.83. Interest we're getting charged $53.55, raising that balance up to $3,613.38 at the end of month 3. So the way these lines work is you put your income in and you take the same money back out to pay your expenses, and your cash flow stays in, and that's what pays down these lines of credit. That's basically how it works. Your income goes in, you take that same money out, that same dollar, those same dollars, pay your expenses, cash flow stays in, pays down the line. And then you're going to get charged interest on, depending on what the balance is daily, every single month is going to tally up. And then at the end of the month, you're going to pay the interest. So that's what I have here. But the interest that I calculate is based off of the beginning balance, and your interest charge is going to be lower than what I have here on the board. But I just put the highest interest just to leave room for any mistakes, any errors or something. Your bills are going to fluctuate. I know is you're not going to have this exact amount every month. I mean, that's impossible because of your utilities and your food, and you might do a little bit more. So, but this is just a base, and this is what you can go by. That's all I'm doing here. So we're at the end of month 3, and our balance now is under what we're putting in. So what time is it? It's flip time. So what I like to do, just on the board, I like to have the expenses come out first and then our income go in second, just so you can see the line when we're actually paying it down to zero, and we have less math on, and you're doing less math because you're not having a difference or putting in the exact amount. You're just using less math, so it leaves room for less errors that you're going to make, and it just makes things a little bit easier to see when the line actually goes down to zero. So I'm going to have the expenses come out first of $3,276, and that's going to raise the balance up to $6,889.38. Now we're going to have our income going in of $4,000, driving that balance all the way down to $889.38. $45.17 is the interest. Balance $2,934.55 at the end of month 4. Now, like I mentioned, just because I flipped the numbers on the board doesn't mean that you're going to do anything different on your end. You're still going to be putting all your income into the line and then taking what you need to take out for your expenses. Now, if it comes to a point where your line goes all the way down to zero, that's a good thing, because that means that you're not going to get charged interest for that day, and you're just going to have money just sitting in your checking account. But soon as some expenses that need to come out, that need to be paid, what are you going to do? You're just going to take money out of your checking and throw it into the line until you're out of money, and then that's when you're going to have a balance. That's all you're going to do. You're going to do the same exact thing if it comes to that. But put all your money in and then take what you need out for expenses. That's all we're doing. So in month 5, we're going to repeat the same thing. We're going to have our expenses come out first, and then our income going in, lowering that balance down to $2,210.55. $36.68 is the interest, raising that balance up to $2,247.23 at the end of month 5. Month 6, repeat. Expenses out, income in, $1,523.23 is the balance. $28.09 is the interest, raising that balance up to $1,551.32 at the end of month 6. Not too bad. So in 6 months, we went from $5,600. Now we're down to $1,500. Not too bad. Month 7, we have our expenses coming out, our income going in. Now the balance is under $1,000. $827.32. $19.39 is an interest. You're not even going to notice that. Raising that balance up to $846.71 at the end of month 7. Month 8, we have our expenses coming out, raising that balance up to $4,122.71. Then we got our income of 4K going in, knocking that balance down to $121.71. $10.58 in interest. $133.29 is the balance at the end of month 8. Then month 9. Look at that right there. We have our expenses coming out, raising that balance up to $34.09.29. Now, we've been putting in $4,000. That's our income. So we're going to put in that exact amount, zero this out. Month 9, we're done with $5,600. Starting off with $500 of cash flow. Now we're at a net of the full $724 to work with. So not too bad. So we wiped out credit card number 1. Now is free and clear. And then we put a little dent in the $6,000 credit card. $1,600, brought it down to $4,400. So what are we going to do? In the next video, we're going to knock out the rest of this card, and we're going to pretty much do the same thing. We're going to take 70% of the line, and we're going to have $5,600 to work with. So we're going to tackle this second credit card and then start working on number 3. And we're gonna have this paid off in no time, but you're gonna have to stay tuned for the next video to see that. So I just want to thank you for watching. I want to thank all of you for all your support, and let's make 2025 the year that we start paying down this debt and become debt free. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. And like I always say, get that cash flow.